So this screencast is going to begin our Chapter 19 notes, which is all about the Great Depression. So if you want to make sure you have that outline downloaded from Moodle at this time. So we're going to kind of first start talking about what are some of the problems in the economy that are going to lead to the era that we know today as the Great Depression. So our economy had lots of trouble towards the late 1920s. There were lots of basic industries such as railroad industry and the mining industry that were in trouble because of improvements in technology. And you know, when you have improvements and advancements in technology, machines, in a sense, replace people because things can be done more efficiently with machines, and so that means unemployment is going to kind of go up since people are kind of being let go off their jobs in replacement of machinery. Farmers are also in big trouble because of technology, but also because there was an increase in supply over demand. Basically an overproduction problem, and when you have too much supply and not enough demand to meet it, then you have to drop your prices, and so they start going into debt. The consumer is struggling because overall Americans have less money to spend because the cost of living and just general prices of items were continuously increasing, but wages were remaining the same at this time, and so they don't have the money to be able to spend on certain things. And also they had been using too much credit in the past, and that's gotten them into trouble. But also during this time we see an uneven distribution of income. There are some people that are getting rich during this time, which it appears that a lot of people in the 20s are getting rich, but really only a few people are getting rich, and the majority of people are becoming really poor. So the president that's going to kind of make his way into the White House just in time for this economic disaster is Herbert Hoover. He will be elected in the election of 1928, and in just a year we're going to see the stock market crash. So bad timing on his part, not that he could have planned that, but of course it will be a lot for him to handle as president. So we're going to now talk about kind of the stock market crash, which is the event that kind of, we say, sparked the Depression, or it's kind of the event that we mark at the beginning of the Depression. And so before we actually get into what the stock market crash was, I have a few terms I want to review with you from civics and economics freshman year. So stock is defined as a share of ownership in a company. So when you buy stock, you are essentially buying a unit of ownership to a specific company, okay? And if that company grows and you have stock in that company, then your money grows with it. And if that company falls, then the value of your stock declines. And so that is how stock is an investment, and the stock market's an investment. If you hear about people saying, oh, I have dreams of getting rich in the stock market, the goal would be to buy into a company when it's on the rise, and then if you buy at the right time when it's kind of cheaper, and then it grows quickly, then you've made a lot of extra money compared to what you put in, and that's how you kind of become rich off the stock market. And people in the 20s, all the rage is trying to make money off the stock market. Stock prices throughout the 20s rise to the highest level ever. I mean, the more money people put in, the more value these companies are worth. Okay, but unfortunately there are some faulty things happening during those transactions that are going to lead to the crash. So here are a couple of troubles on the stock market at this time. First off, people are engaging in what's known as speculation, where they are buying stocks without doing much proper research, and they're kind of just ignoring the risks and speculating or gambling that the company is going to be doing well and making them a lot of money when they really don't have any enlightened reasoning to think that. And so this is taking a large risk when you make impulsive moves like this without doing the proper research. In a more rough time right now, people are also doing what's called buying on margin. When you buy stocks on margin, it means you're buying stocks on credit. So you're literally investing money you don't have. And so what happens if your stock drops and then you literally lost money that you never even put up in the first place, so now you're even further into debt? This is like making a bet with money you don't even have. So this is really very risky business. But again, investing in the stock market was all the rage, and so people were tempted to take that risk. But because of these two things, the price of the stock market and just the stock market as a whole, the health of it looks good and looks like it's doing well, but in reality, it could break at any moment because there's not the money to actually back up some of these transactions is not actually there. So let's look at a little bit of a timeline here, and I'm not going to make you memorize these dates at all, but I just kind of want you to be aware of how all this went down. So first off, side note, in the economy and in the stock market, the rule of thumb is if you will something to happen, it's going to happen, but because you're going to make it happen. And so, believe it or not, what I'm about to tell you is that people and kind of their paranoia is what caused the stock market crash on October 29th, 1929. And building up to that, in September of 1929, the stock market took a little bit of a dip. Prices dipped significantly enough to that people got kind of nervous and they started to sell a lot of their stock, meaning they pulled their money out of the market, meaning the market kind of dropped. So like when you see a drop and you pull your money, then you're also adding to the problem in a sense. That was just a light dip though. On October 24th it took a bigger plunge, and because of this, people basically went crazy, and millions of Americans, or millions of shares I should say, were sold for October 29th, 1929. This event is known as Black Tuesday, and this is when the market took a complete plummet. Record number of stocks sold that day, meaning people selling their stocks back, so they're pulling their money out of the market. Roughly 16 million shares sold that day. What if you were one of the ones who didn't pull out your money in time though? Now your stock is worth nothing because everyone else pulled theirs out. And so by November of this year, it had been estimated that investors in the stock market lost about $30 billion. That just shows you this is people, this is business's money, but this is also people's money, because they had been the ones to invest in some of these companies and some of the stock. And so this event is known as the stock market crash of 1929, aka Black Tuesday. Not Black Friday, Black Tuesday. Here's pictures just to kind of show you the little dips over time. So this event does signal the start of what's called the Great Depression. We refer to the Great Depression as the period from 1929 to 1940, so roughly 11 years, in which the economy plummeted and unemployment skyrocketed. So very high unemployment during this time. We're going to see banks and businesses fail pretty much directly after the stock market crashes. When people pull their money out of the stock market, they also get nervous about their money being in the banks. And so after the crash, many people withdraw money from the banks at a rapid rate. And, banks don't just hold everyone's money when you deposit it. It's a constant process of deposits and withdrawals. So if everyone goes to the bank today who has an account and tries to withdraw all their money, the bank will go bankrupt. They will collapse. They don't have everyone's funds to give back right away. They're not holding them. It's constantly cycling through. And so you're supposed to have faith in the banking system. When people lose faith, that's when the banks can crash, and that's what happened in this instance. And with businesses, people are losing money, okay, so then they stop spending money at stores and other businesses, at restaurants, at grocery stores. Then those grocery stores are now losing income, so they have to fire people, lay people off, because they can no longer afford to pay everyone. So now those people don't have money to spend, and it just cycles and spirals out of control. This event also did, kind of send shockwaves across the ocean. When some of our businesses stop selling and stop importing as much goods to Europe, then Europe's affected. So our economic turmoil will directly affect those we do business with, which is how it works in the economy globally. So if we look at the main causes of the Great Depression, we consider these following 5 things. Tariffs, because there were some tariffs in place which are a barrier to free and open trade. When you tax a foreign business for doing business in your country, then that does hurt international trade. Overproduction in farming, as we discussed earlier, is definitely considered a cause of the Great Depression, because the farming industry is still very significant to our economy at this time, and they're greatly suffering because of overproduction and because of their drop in prices as a result of that. Credit is definitely considered a cause of the Great Depression because it leads to obscene amount of private debt, because people were not able to keep rein it in and keep a check on themselves and not spend too much money on credit. And also people buying stock on credit, buying on the margin was an issue. The unequal distribution of income, the few rich getting richer, but the poor staying poor and getting poorer. And then finally, that stock market crash is the final kind of nail in the coffin.